Welcome back to our channel, My BioNotes. So in the video la nama vand diffusion பத்தி தான் பார்க்க போறோம். So வீடியோக்குள்ள போறதுக்கு முன்னாடி சேனலை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணாதவங்க சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணிருங்க and also இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்க ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க and also bell button click பண்ணுங்க அப்பதான் நாங்க ஏதாவது வீடியோ போட்டு உங்களுக்கு நோட்டிஃபிகேஷன்ல வரும். So come let's see about this topic of diffusion. So what is diffusion actually? If you see means diffusion nale it is the spreading of something. So ஏதாவது வந்து spread ஆகுறது வந்து நம்ம வந்து diffusion சொல்றோம். So ஒரு இடத்துல அந்த substance might have been concentrated ஆ இருக்கலாம். So அந்த concentrated ஏரியால இருந்து they tend to get diffused, spread ஆகும் to a low concentration region. That you call it as a diffusion. So here the substances move from regions of higher concentration to regions of lower concentration. So that occurs in case of a diffusion. So a good example is a glass of water. So in the glass of water la, if you just put a drop of ink, what occurs? The ink tend to get diffused inside the water. So the ink வந்து spread ஆகும் inside the water till it attains an equilibrium. So that you call it as a diffusion. So the diffusion is passive. So passive means it there is no any resistance for it. There is no any hindrance for the movement of ink here in the water. So we call it as a passive movement, and it is slow and it is random. So the direction is random. There is not any specific direction for the movement of the substance, and there is no expenditure of energy. So here energy is not needed. So the diffusion rate, coming to the diffusion rate, what is rate? Rate nale it is denoting the speed at which that particular thing occurs. So diffusion evlo speed ah nadakudhu illa slow ah nadakudhu. So it and the rate vande it gets affected by the following. What are they appdin pathona? Gradient of concentration, how the difference of concentration is, and also the permeability of the membrane, whether the membrane is permeable, more permeable to the substance being diffused na, it gets diffused faster. If it is less permeable na, the diffusion might be slower. And also temperature and pressure. So idella porthu da the diffusion rate depends. And also coming to facilitated diffusion. Facilitated, so here the diffusion is made easier for some substances. Some substances alla vanda and cell membrane cross panna mudiyadu. So in the cell membrane irukku illaya, it is a phospholipid layer. So andha mari irukka substances ku the diffusion it get facilitated, it is made easier by another substance. In the case la it is proteins. So proteins help the diffusion of some substances which are not readily diffused. So that type of diffusion is known as facilitated diffusion. So diffusion facilitated by, it helps, nothing but it helps the diffusion of some substances. So diffusion facilitated by proteins where concentration gradient is present. So that is important. Concentration gradient must always be present, then only diffusion occurs. Without concentration gradient you can't expect the diffusion to occur. And diffusion rate, they also depend on the size of the substances. So larger molecules வந்து கம்மியாக diffuse ஆகலாம், smaller molecules வந்து they get diffused more easily. So it also depends on size of the substance, and diffusion also depends on the solubility of the lipids. So lipids, since the cell membrane no, it is made of the phospholipid bilayer, you all know. So adanala the substance being diffused, if it is more soluble in lipid, it becomes easier for the molecule to get diffused. But when it is not soluble in lipids, then the membrane proteins help to diffuse those type of substances. So hydrophilic or hydrophobic சொல்லுவாங்க இல்லையா, hydrophilic, philicனா water loving. So அந்த மாதிரி substancesக்கு we need this membrane protein. So they need the help of this membrane protein. And as I already mentioned, special proteins are involved for this facilitated diffusion, and there is no expenditure of ATP energy inga kadaya thevilla, and also there is no transport from low to high concentration. So in the case la namakku vandu high la irundhu low concentration ku da movement irukka podhu. So it occurs naturally. In the case la ATP energy தேவை கிடையாது, நம்ம லோல இருந்து ஹைக்கு போல. ஸோ அதை தான் சொல்கிறாங்க. அண்ட் சேச்சுரேஷன் இட் அக்கர்ஸ், தேர் இஸ் ஆல்சோ அ பாயிண்ட், சேச்சுரேஷன் பாயிண்ட். எல்லா ப்ராசஸ்க்கும் தேர் இஸ் அ சேச்சுரேஷன் பாயிண்ட். நோ, ஸோ அந்த எப்போ அக்கர் ஆகும் அப்படின்னா, அந்த ப்ரோட்டீன் எல்லா ப்ரோட்டீன் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டர்ஸும் ஆர் யூஸ்டு அப்படின்னா இட் ரீச்சஸ் அ சேச்சுரேஷன் பாயிண்ட். And also this facilitated diffusion, it is specific. So selected substances they get diffuse. So this diffusion is specific. And also there are inhibitors. So in the diffusion there are inhibitors. So idu nadakama hinder பண்றதுக்கு there are inhibitors. So இந்த மாதிரி proteins which help in facilitated diffusion, no, they are sensitive to this type of inhibitors. And how they inhibit nu pathina, they react with the protein side chains. In the inhibitors they react with the protein side chain to stop the diffusion. So as I already mentioned, you can see the phospholipid bilayer here. So in the lipid solubility porthu the diffusion differs, no, it is because of the layer which is made up of this hydrophilic head, hydrophobic tail. So you can recall the structure of the cell membrane. And coming to the facilitated diffusion la, there are channels are nothing but the proteins. So na sonala proteins, they help in the diffusion of the substances. And this protein channels, the channels which are made of proteins, they allow molecules to pass through them. So the channel will look like this. So on the membrane la, you can see channels which are nothing but proteins. They allow molecules to pass through, and they are either always open or controlled by some process. It gets open when only when it binds to a receptor like that. And it allows, when it is large, very big, it allows variety of proteins. Coming to porins, what are porins? So the porins are proteins that form pores in the outer membrane of plastids la, mitochondria la, and even in some bacteria. So bacteria la, they form pores. So they are called as porins. So example for porins, it is we can say the water channel which has 8 different types of aqua porins. Aqua na water, porin na the protein which form pore in the outer membrane. So this water channel is an example of a porin. So this facilitated diffusion, you can see in the picture the insoluble molecule. So it can't go through this lipid bilayer. So it need the help of this protein, carrier protein. இந்த carrier protein அதுக்காக தான் இருக்கு, இந்த insoluble molecules cell membrane குள்ள allow பண்றதுக்கு. So this is the extracellular fluid, this is the cytoplasm. So as the molecule binds to the receptor site here, there is change in this shape. See, first it was open outside like this, then the shape it has, see, like it seems like it has rotated. First in the shape la irundhathu, now it has conformational change. Since it's a protein, in the binding has caused this change, and the molecule now has come inside to the cytoplasm. Next, coming to this in facilitated diffusion itself, as I said, the carrier or transport proteins, they allow the diffusion only if 2 molecules move together. So ரெண்டு molecule move ஆனாதான் they allow diffusion. So in some carrier, in the some cases la, the carrier or transport protein, no, they allow diffusion only if 2 types of molecules move together. only in certain cases. என்ன மாதிரி கேஸ்லன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it is symport, antiport, uniport. What are these? So symport, synனால என்னன்னா with or together ஒன்னாவே போகிறது. ஸோ எல்லா மாலிகுலும் it moves along together. Both the molecules cross the membrane in same direction. ஸோ அதை தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்கிறோம், symport. ஸோ here as I already said, some caseல அந்த ரெண்டு மாலிகுல் இன்வால்வ் ஆகும். அந்த ரெண்டு மாலிகுல் in what direction it moves அதை பொறுத்து we call by these names as symport, antiport, uniport னு சொல்கிறோம். So when the molecule cross the membrane, so here you can see the carrier, this is the carrier protein. So முன்னாடி பிக்சரில் பார்த்த மாதிரி, so this is the cell membrane. So இந்த கேஸில் so here's the symport, both A molecule and B molecule they move in the same direction, அதனால symport னு சொல்கிறோம். அதே antiport the molecules move in opposite direction. So you can see antiport antina against, A moves in this direction and B moves in the opposite direction. And coming to uniport, uni-nale one. So the molecules move across the membrane independent of the other molecules. So they are not dependent, they are independent. So here you can see the uniport, the only one molecule A moving across the membrane. So this is about facilitated diffusion. So thank you all for watching my video. And video உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, and also bell button click பண்ணுங்க. அப்பதான் நாங்க ஏதாவது வீடியோ போட்டா உங்களுக்கு நோட்டிஃபிகேஷன்ல வரும். Happy learning to you all. Thank you.